time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
On a Wednesday, and great to have you all with us, all across America and Canada. Don't forget our Canadian friends. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Stan Verrett drops by, former ESPN alum. Sam and myself caught up with him yesterday. You'll hear some of that conversation today. We're saving the rest of it for a Sports Wrap Best Of. So we'll have that coming up for you in a little bit. Also, some huge news out of the NBA that I don't think anybody saw coming. But when I got into the story and start to think about it, it's not as shocking a story to me as it might be to some people, and I'll explain why. But today is about the NFL. And it's about the NFL because it is my favorite day of the year, Sam Yarnell. My favorite day of the year. It's the day where we look on September 3rd, 2025, like we are geniuses. We have crystal balls, and we know exactly what's going to happen in the NFL over the course of the next 5 months. We've got it all figured out. And then we look back in 4 or 5 months and realize we knew absolutely nothing at all. It is NFL Prediction Day, Sam Yarnell on the show. It's like the last day of school, except it's really the first day of the football season. It's that exciting day where we think we know it all, Sam. And we're going to start out with the AFC. We're going to give our playoff teams today. Tomorrow we'll give our Super Bowl predictions out on the show with the start of the NFL season with the Eagles and the Cowboys. So, Sam, AFC playoff teams, I want your division winners and wild cards. Go.
All right, Jason, it is truly the most wonderful time of year. I've done all of my fantasy drafts except for one. I've completed 4, 1 to go, and that one's the real degenerates. We start our draft at 7 p.m. the night of opening kickoff, so we're about 3/4 of the way through the draft by the time the NFL season gets kicked off. And, you know, it's always fun if there's an early game injury because then the next backup immediately gets drafted. All right. My 4 division winners in the AFC for 2024-2025. We'll start with the easy ones, right? The Buffalo Bills. This is a team that has lost 2 games at home, or 2 regular season games at home in the last 2 years. They went undefeated at home last year. The Buffalo Bills, when it comes to dominance, when you talk about going into an environment and not being able to win, that's what New Era Field is right now. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Highmark Stadium. That's the old name of it. I apologize. But I do think that the Buffalo Bills have a cakewalk to this division this year. I don't think anyone will compete with them. The other really easy one for me is the Houston Texans. And now I know there are a bunch of people out there in the sports betting world with a bunch of fun picks for this division. I'm going to keep it easy. I'm going to go with the 2-time reigning defending division champions. Give me the Houston Texans as my 2 automatic seeds. I can't pick against the Chiefs in the AFC West as bad as I want to, as much as I wish I could in my heart. I know in my brain that they are going to win the AFC West. It is what they do. They chew bubblegum and win the division, and they are all out of bubblegum to chew. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs in the AFC West. That's an easy one. The North is where I'm going to go a little bit different than people expect, right? And I know when we did our If Not Then Who, I said it's the AFC North. It's the Baltimore Ravens or nobody. Their roster's the most talented in the NFL, which it is. But I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win the AFC North this year. Listen, when we think about the Cincinnati Bengals, when we did our If Not Then Who segment, Shamar Stewart might not have been the Bengal. There was talk he was going to go back to college at that point. And Trey Hendrickson was posting Instagram stories from God's country. Yeah, the jury was still out on the Cincinnati Bengals. Luckily, both those guys are going to be suiting up for week 1. So I'll buy in on a share of the Cincinnati Bengals. My 3 wild card teams, Jason Page, we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens because they're going to have to make the playoffs somehow. And this is where I think I'm going to surprise people. I'm going to go with 2 more teams out of the AFC West. Give me the Chargers and the Broncos to make the playoffs. So Bills, Bengals, Texans, Chiefs are your top 4 seeds, probably in that order. Mm-hmm. And then I think we're looking at Chargers, Broncos, Ravens to round us out. Those are my 7 AFC playoff teams this year, Jason.
Well, we're in agreement. We're in agreement on 3 of the divisions, which I don't think should be a surprise to to much of anybody, Sam. I love the Ravens. I love the Bills in the AFC East. The team I think could challenge them, though, I am going to say this. I think it could be the Jets. I don't know why, because I am higher on Justin Fields, I think, than a lot of people are. I think the Jets could actually challenge them in that AFC East. I will go with the Ravens in the AFC North. There's just no getting away from Baltimore at this point. While I think the Bengals are a playoff team, and I'll get to the wild card teams in a moment, I do still think Baltimore is the class of that division. I like the Jaguars in the AFC South. I think it's a bounce-back year for Trevor Lawrence with a lot to prove, and now the expectations have come down from where they were. Regardless of how much money he makes, the expectation level now has come down, and I think it's going to be an easier bar for him to clear because there aren't a lot of people expecting much out of him in Jacksonville. The Kansas City Chiefs are the obvious one in the AFC West until somebody proves otherwise, as Matt Verderame said. I will go with Kansas City. My wild card teams are a little different, obviously, because I have different division winners. I think Cincinnati is a playoff team. I don't think they're a division winner, but I think they win enough games to make the playoffs this year. That offense is simply too potent. Having Hendrickson out there for a full season, they're certainly going to do enough defensively, I think, that they will win enough games to make the playoffs, assuming health again with all of these things. I think the Chargers are also a playoff team. I'm not incredibly high on them, but it's also just sort of looking at the landscape of the AFC, the division they're in. I think the Chargers will win enough games to get in. My final wild card team, though, might come as a surprise to some. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers get in. I think they squeak in. I think they could be the 7 seed. But I do think the Steelers get in. Again, if you keep Aaron Rodgers healthy for an entire season, and keep him upright, I think that team wins enough games. Look, I've said this before. They were making the playoffs the last few years and above 500 with who at quarterback? Now you've got arguably one of the best, top 5, top 6 quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers on the field for you, and you expect me to believe that there's going to be such a drop-off from the Aaron Rodgers that we saw second half of last year that the Steelers can't win enough games to make the playoffs? They're making the playoffs. I don't want them to, but they're going to.
No Broncos.
No,
I think that
I am selling on the Broncos, and I've said it. I think they take a step back this year. They barely made the playoffs last year, and they needed the Chiefs to help them to get in. Bills, Ravens, Jaguars, Chiefs, Bengals, Steelers, Chargers. We're going to the NFC next. All right, it's NFL Prediction Day on SportsWrap, one of our favorite days of the year where we try to make ourselves look really smart. We're giving our AFC and NFC division winners and wild card teams today. We will have our Super Bowl predictions on Thursday's show. Busy show Thursday. Jabba Chamberlain, former Yankee pitcher, will hang out with us alongside David Ardsma, who joins us every Thursday on the show. We're looking forward to that. Sam Yarnell. We've gone through the AFC, and we do have some differences there as far as that was concerned. Now we're going to go to the NFC and give our predictions for the conference as far as division winners and wild card teams are concerned. Sam Yarnell, you are up first with your NFC predictions. Go.
All right, Jason. Well, we'll go east to west again because this is certainly not the order of seeding that I think will land in the NFC. But division winners east to west, we'll start with the Eagles. Listen, not that I think the Eagles are going to be this historically well put together team that they were last year. They are not the same team this year. I still think they're good enough to win a division that takes a big step back this year. Obviously, the departure of Micah Parsons, right? My hottest take about this division is that I think it's on the board that the Giants don't finish in last. I think the Giants have a real possibility at finishing as high as second in this division. That is a team that is massively slept on. But the Philadelphia Eagles are a team that I can't pick against to win this division. In the NFC North, I'll pick against the defending champions. Give me the Green Bay Packers. This is a team that took strides this offseason in directions that we wanted them to take. We said, what are the two glaring holes in this Green Bay Packers team? It was wide receiver one and a notable defensive lineman because they don't blitz the quarterback a lot. What'd they go out and get? Matthew Golden and Micah Parsons. Yeah, that works enough for me. That'll get you to an NFC North championship. Give me the Green Bay Packers to win that division. In the South, I have to go with my team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love this team. I really do. I think that they are so talented and have one of the most underrated defenses in the National Football League. That is a defense that's got talent at all three levels, and they can stop just about anybody when they have to. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the NFC South. Out West, this is a tough one. This is one that
I don't think it's that tough.
I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. I know they came in last that year. It's the San Francisco 49ers.
Brock Purdy, all the nicknames that I can't even say on television. You're going to give me the San Francisco 49ers on this show? I am outraged. I am appalled.
I mean, they don't make them as unbiased as they make me, Jason Page. I'll just tell you that right now. The San Francisco 49ers, this is a hill I might have to die on. They're going to be a great team this year. I think in the regular season, this is where you ready for your jaw to really drop. I think the San Francisco 49ers could be your NFC 1 seed headed into the playoffs. I think that is very much on the board for this year. I love the San Francisco 49ers in the regular season this year. I think they're going to be a great team. All right, my wild card teams. This was a little bit tough.
Yeah, I think it's very tough.
I got to ride with Ben Johnson. The Chicago Bears are going to be a wild card team this year. I am drinking the Kool-Aid. I think Caleb Williams takes that step in this offense. I think that the Chicago Bears are an NFC wild card team this year, Jason.
Tucker Carlson
I'll get even hotter for you than that. I think the Packers and the Bears are the only two teams out of the NFC North that are making the playoffs. I don't have the Lions or the Vikings in my playoff picture. Otherwise, I'm going to go with the Rams as a wild card team. Why? Because that's what Sean McVay does. He figures out how to win enough games to be a wild card team and fit into the playoffs. And lastly, but not leastly, I got to go with my Washington Commanders, a team that I was on heavily last season. I'm going to say this. I don't love the pick, but give me the Commanders as the 7 seed. I'm nervous about them this year as the oldest team in the NFL, but I think they could find their way into the playoffs.
No Rams. Oh, no, you have the Rams. Okay, Rams, Bears, and Commanders. Got it.
Yeah, so Eagles, Packers, Buccaneers and Niners are my 4 division winners. And then I got Commanders, Bears, and Rams as my 3 wildcard teams.
Wow. We have most of the same teams making the playoffs overall. That's the I don't know if it's good news or bad news. I mean, if people are just picking teams to make the playoffs, I guess they'll be happy because we're in agreement. But here's where I'm going. I still think it's the Eagles in the NFC East. And I don't even know if they necessarily take a step backwards. I don't see why they would necessarily take a step backwards, especially considering they're going to have, a couple of layups in that division with the Giants. And I think the Cowboys, who are going to score a lot of points, but are going to give up a lot of points. As we said yesterday, they're sort of the Temu Bengals. If you want to look at it that way. See, Matt Verderame used Walmart. Because Walmart may want to one day sponsor the show, so I'm not going to say Walmart. I'm going to say Temu Bengals. And if you've ever ordered anything off Temu, you know what I mean. NFC North, I'm going with the Lions still. I mean, again, they're getting back one of the best defensive players in the game who missed all of last year. I mean, to me, it's still Detroit atop the NFC North until somebody proves otherwise. And look, I'll get to the Packers coming up in a couple of minutes. I still think the Packers are going to be really good. I just think, much like last year, you're going to have 2 teams with a lot of wins at the top of that division. I just think Detroit is a scooch better. And that's largely because I'm still not a big believer in Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love wins you a lot of regular season games, and I don't think he wins you a lot in the postseason. NFC South, I'm with you. I'll go with the Buccaneers. That defense is so good. And what Baker Mayfield has turned himself into since going to that organization is really one of the better sort of unfounded or undiscovered or undiscussed stories in the NFL. I love what Baker Mayfield has become there, considering the way his career started in Cleveland. NFC West, I'm going with the Rams. I am very high on this team. Whether it's Matthew Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo, I think they can win games with that team, and I think they're going to be a very formidable opponent out there in the NFC West. When we talk about wild card teams, I'm with you on the Commanders, and I don't even think it's that. I think there's a chance there's a little regression, much like C.J. Stroud with Jaden Daniels. But I'm still on the Commanders bandwagon as a wild card team. I think the Packers are obviously a playoff team. I said, along with the Lions, they're going to be at the top of the NFC North. The third one was tough for me too. I'm going to go with San Francisco, and I do it reluctantly so. But I'm going to go with the 49ers. Watch out for Seattle. Watch the Seahawks. I think there's going to be a real race for that final wild card spot. I think the Bears will be in the mix as well. But I think it is the 49ers that ultimately prevail as the third wild card. We're coming back with Stan Verrett, the former ESPN SportsCenter anchor, is next. SportsWrap continues all across the U.S. and Canada on this special edition of the show. We're chatting with Stan Verrett. There he is. ESPN alum. He's got a show coming out with his old buddy Neil Everett over on Twitch. When is that debuting, Stan?
September 9th, the Tuesday after the first NFL games on Sunday and Monday. So
love it.
Figured that'd be the right time to launch. There'll be plenty to talk about.
So talk to me here. I mean, you've been gone from ESPN a little while now. What has the downtime been like from the last show at ESPN to where you are now?
Been playing a lot of golf, doing some traveling, spending a lot of time with my wife, going out to the Hollywood Bowl concerts and going to dinners and, stuff that I didn't get to do when I was working a lot of nights. So it's been fantastic. I mean, getting a lot of sleep. So it's been great. I mean, it wasn't downtime that was planned, but when it fell in my lap, I said, okay, I'm going to take the summer and I'm just going to enjoy the summer and then get back to it when the fall starts.
Well, let me ask you, when Neil sort of parted ways and you two were a team, was the writing sort of on the wall of what was happening with ESPN, that LA may ultimately shut down? Like, I mean, was all of that sort of in motion so you could sort of plan ahead and start to envision, all right, there might be life after ESPN that I have to start thinking about at that point?
Well, when you're a contract employee, if you're smart and you're living in, 2 to 3, 4 year windows, you always have to be thinking, what do I do if, right? Because nothing lasts forever. I mean, I was very fortunate to stay at ESPN for 25 years, but no, I didn't think so, because after Neil left, I had some conversations that, they were continuing the show in LA and they were going to quote unquote build it around me and add, another anchor, and Ashley Brewer was there for a couple of years, and then Linda Cohn came on. So that initially that wasn't the way it played out, but then rumors started circulating that LA, might be done. And I didn't believe it until it actually happened, until they actually told me they were going to do it, because it just made a lot of sense for ESPN to be in Los Angeles, particularly because of the access that it gave us to everybody who lives in Southern California, players who live in Southern California during their off seasons. We did a lot of celebrity interviews with people who were involved in television and movies. And so it just made a lot of sense to be there. So I think they saw the value in it, but I think they also see the value in having everything centralized in Bristol. And so that won the day, it appears.
What's interesting to me is the industry that when you went to ESPN, the industry you entered, is not the industry that you left.
It is not.
And that's what's most fascinating to me. It's almost like being married for, getting married 30 years ago, and now you're single, and oh my God, there's all these dating apps and all these different ways to meet. No, but I'm serious. Like it's a totally different world. Even for me, the industry I got into 30 years ago is not the industry I'm in now.
No, it's not. And I liken it to owning a Blockbuster video store. Okay. You could be the greatest Blockbuster video store operator in the world, and it would not matter once people started downloading and streaming movies and television shows. So things have changed. They've changed rather rapidly. And I think it's a confluence of two different events. I think it's the onset of the technology, or I should say two different factors, because they both weren't events, but it's the rapidly increasing technological capabilities combined with the COVID experience. So during the COVID experience, people got used to seeing people looking exactly like we look right now on this show, and being okay with it. There was a time in television where if you had a guest, that guest had to go to a studio.
Yes,
you had to book a satellite window, and it was a much more laborious process than this process is now. Now you fire up your camera, you post your show, and it's there for the world to see almost in real time. So it's vastly different. The other thing is, we made our name, me and Neil, doing highlights together on SportsCenter. Okay, now that is not as much of an urgent need because people can almost see highlights in real time online.
Sure.
I mean, there's not a big game that happens where a significant play happens and you can't see it almost immediately somewhere online. I mean, sometimes if there's a game I'm watching and there's a particular play that I saw that I think was integral to the game that may not garner a replay on the broadcast, I'll immediately go to social media, type in whatever, Johnson run off tackle or whatever, and I can almost always find that play because there was somebody else thinking, wow, that play is an important play. They didn't show a replay. Let me break that play down. And it's almost always there. So it's just a totally different landscape. And as such, I don't think there is as much of a premium on doing highlights as the base of a show, with the caveat of NFL highlights on Sunday night or Monday. I think there's such a ravenous appetite for the NFL. I think an NFL highlight show on Sunday and Monday can still be a real factor in terms of viewership. But overall, showing highlights now just doesn't carry the weight that it once did. I mean, if you talk to kids now, like young kids, teenagers, and you tell them there was a time when you got to see only your local team play, and then the national game that was on another network in terms of NFL Sundays, and then the Monday night game, they're like, what?
Right.
So you got to see at most 4 games a week. You got your local team, and then there was always a doubleheader on one of the 2 networks.
Right.
And then there was a Monday night game. And then eventually there was a Sunday night game. So you got potentially 5. But now with Sunday Ticket and all the advancements in technology, I mean, you can literally watch every game. So you're right, it's totally different.
Yeah. All right, we got more to do with Stan Verrett, the former ESPN SportsCenter anchor. Now he's got the new Stan and Neil show coming out with him and Neil Everett. They're going to sort of reimagine their duo and what they were doing on ESPN. So we're going to talk to him a little bit more about that and how this new show that he's doing on Twitch with Neil Everett is going to differ from his work over on ESPN on SportsCenter, and also find out some more about what he's up to in his days since walking away from ESPN. More of our conversation with Stan Everett continues here on SportsWrap. All right, coming up in 10 minutes, the Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer Clippers controversy that everybody's talking about. We'll get into it. But first, more of our conversation with Stan Verrett, myself and Sam Yarnell, catching up with him yesterday, having a wide-ranging conversation on the state of the sports broadcasting world and talking about all the new things he's going to be up to in his new show that's coming out with Neil Everett. What is that show going to look like?
So now the challenge is we're not telling you just what happened. We're telling you what we think about what happened. And so that is a change that is going to determine how successful we are at doing it if people are interested in what we have to say. And so I think early on, we're going to have to get people used to that we're not just presenting the information now. We're presenting some insight on the information. And one of the things I'm learning as I've been preparing for this over the summer is I look at sports a different way now in terms of I don't just have to see what happened and understand what happened. I have to take the next step, see what happened, understand what happened, and then formulate an opinion about what happened. And so that's a different thing. I've been doing it all my life. I just haven't been broadcasting it, because you watch it and you say, okay, I think their offensive coordinator doesn't know what he's doing. Okay. But I don't say that on the air because that wasn't my role.
Right.
It goes back to, the Blockbuster video analogy. You know what I mean? My role was to sell videotapes. Okay. Well, nobody sells videotapes anymore. They're streaming. And so now my role has to change. And I think, it's a good time to be making this transition because now every day I look and there are 4 or 5 new shows coming online digitally where people are seeing, hey, I can do this. If we have the content, the distribution takes care of itself.
Were there ever opportunities for you during your time at ESPN to break away from being the anchor where you could have gone and done more of the opinion and first takey sort of stuff? Were there opportunities for that either you passed up or they weren't offered that you would have liked to have done?
We did a month of ESPN radio during COVID.
Okay.
And there was nothing happening. You know what I mean? So we were just kind of scrounging for stories. But, I think we made it entertaining. It was me and Neil. We made it entertaining. We had some good guests. We had the late, great Bill Walton come on, and I literally sat there to see how long he would talk. And he talked, we got a solid hour out of Bill Walton that we didn't have planned for an hour. Yeah. But he just started going, and there was no way to interrupt. You know what I mean? But that's one of the memories that stood out. Charles Barkley came on with us. I mean, we really worked the Rolodex during that time to try to get people on because it had to be conversation. There was no sports per se to talk about. So I felt like we got a little taste of it there together. But I never really sought it out. It was, hey, I'm a SportsCenter anchor. This is what I do. 2016, after John Saunders passed away, I did college football on ABC. But again, it was a studio show, and it wasn't really about opinion as much as it was highlights and interviewing the analysts. So I did some different things, but never really in the opinion space for broadcast. I mean, I've done plenty of it in barbershops and dinners and bars where people just come up to you and they feel like they know you.
I know that
because of the show. And they're like, hey, Stan, man, what do you think about? And I'm like, okay, well, let me finish my chicken parm here, and then I'll let you know. But they just and I always looked at it as a sign of success because if people feel like they know you, it's because they watch you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I try to always indulge people. But I my job was SportsCenter, and I thoroughly enjoyed it the whole time I did it. And so now this is something different.
It's tough when you always feel like the red light has to be on, no matter where you are and what you're doing. I see the Saints helmet behind you. So in addition to the new show you're doing with Neil, I know you're going to be working on Saints game day. Tell me a little bit about that and how it all came about. So the Saints social media guy is a friend, and he came out to the NFL symposium, NFL social media symposium, which was out here. So I met up with him, and he's like, "Hey man, so what are you going to do?" You know what I mean? I told him, I said, I got
I'm going to probably do a show with Neil. Got some other things in the fire. You know what I mean? But I want to do a Saints podcast. I'm just trying to figure out: do I do it, before games? Do I do it after games? Do I do it on Monday or Tuesday? Or like, how do I make it work? And so, I just kind of had the conversation with him. And so then, it got back to Saints headquarters that I was interested in doing a podcast. And so then it was, okay, well, how about doing it with us? And I thought about the access that provides in terms of highlights and guests and analysis and everything. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. So then we're like, okay, well, what is it that they really need? They're trying to expand their digital footprint on Saints.com and all their social sources, social platforms. And so they decided that they wanted to do a big pregame show with, specifically Saints focused. And I go back to, my Green Bay Packers analogy earlier. There are people who want to watch a pregame show, but they don't care about that Ravens-Bengals game. They care about the Saints. And so they want their pregame show to be about the Saints. And so I'm going to be working with Scott Shanley, who was a linebacker on the Super Bowl team in 2009, who's got a great eye for the game. I mean, if you follow him on social media, he breaks down plays and situations and everything. So I'm really excited to work with him. And we're going to get Saints fans ready for Saints game day. And anybody else who wants to tune in, if you want to know what's going on, if you're a Falcons fan or Bucks fan or Panthers fan, you want to know what's going on with the Saints, your division rival, then you can tune in as well. But it's specifically designed to get Saints fans ready for game day, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're talking Steve Ballmer, the Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard next. Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. See, a couple of things happened in Major League Baseball last night that I've just got to get to. We'll do that coming up in about 10 minutes. But we have breaking news from the NBA. And I think it's probably still breaking as of the time you're watching this show, Sam Yarnell. And guess who's breaking it? It's Mr. Breaking News himself, Pablo Torre, of Pablo Torre Finds Out, now with The Athletic, Sam. Look, Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, I say this all the time. Rich people are rich for a reason. They cut corners. They like to spend other people's money. They like to bankrupt, they go through bankruptcy and bankrupt companies and then, figure out ways and loopholes and taxes and all of these different things. Rich people are rich for a reason. Steve Ballmer is no different in that regard. So the story from Pablo Torre, that rhymes, the story from Pablo Torre that he has uncovered and exclusive to him is that Steve Ballmer created this company. They had this, not created. He didn't create the company for that reason, but he had a company, this environmental company. And he basically paid out a $27 million no-show job, if I'm not mistaken, Sam, to Kawhi Leonard. 28, sorry. What's $1 million amongst friends?
Don't short him $1 million.
What's $1 million amongst friends? I know. Who couldn't use $1 million? So $28 million job for Kawhi Leonard, with which he did no endorsements, and it was supposed to be like an endorsement deal. No endorsements for this company that other people got endorsements for and actually did endorsements. Kawhi Leonard was given a $28 million deal and just collected it, and the company went under, it went bankrupt, and as Pablo Torre started going through some of the bankruptcy papers, it was discovered that this was basically a no-show job meant to circumvent the salary cap. And he found that out by actually talking to one of the employees of the company in one of those disguised voices where they talk like this and you can't understand who they are or find out who they are. So, Sam, take it from there, because you've actually watched more of the episode than I have, but that's sort of the gist of the story. And for their part, the Clippers are denying they did anything wrong here, saying Steve Ballmer didn't do anything wrong. Take it away.
This is a mess. And Pablo Torre may have just opened up a can of worms that the wonderful, incredibly talented, award-winning investigative journalist that he is, may not even want to have to deal with. Because you're exactly right, Jason, in this aspiration company, which essentially was a broker to plant trees as an environmental awareness program with an eventual goal of creating a net zero carbon footprint. They had these massive investors on their payroll, as you mentioned, Leonardo DiCaprio, Drake, to name a few. And then they went bankrupt. And within the bankrupt filing, a company that they owed money to turned out to be a shadow company for Kawhi Leonard that was run by the infamous Uncle Dennis Robertson, Kawhi Leonard's uncle, who famously Spurs fans chanted his name at him when Kawhi made his return with the Toronto Raptors in San Antonio, right? Famously, Uncle Dennis is the guy who negotiates all the business around Kawhi Leonard. He's named in these documents as one of the leaders of this KL2, Kawhi Leonard and his number 2 organization that Aspire, as you mentioned, Jason, was due to pay $28 million to over a 4-year period in cash in $7 million a year installments, so long as Kawhi Leonard remained a member of the LA Clippers. Now, in the hours since the reporting's come out, and during the time that I was researching this story myself, an NBA agent, Nate Jones, has come out publicly on the internet commenting about how this is common practice. This is something that players that he represents commonly engage in. The Los Angeles Clippers said in a statement, as Jason mentioned, that they will be completely excluded from any wrongdoing that may have gone on throughout this entire conundrum. If this, in fact, is commonplace for these star players to sign these lucrative endorsement deals with brand sponsors or with jersey sponsors for teams, the sponsors that have their little logo right there on the Lakers or the Wizards or the Trailblazers uniform, this is going to, at least in my opinion, lead to some very interesting collusion conversations. Because if nothing comes of this with the Los Angeles Clippers, and you've got agents representing players out there saying, we've got players who do this in, arbitrary number here, 8 different markets around the country, well, now you've got 8 different teams that you're going to have to deal with circumventing the salary cap potentially. And you may have just opened not one, but many 100 different contracts that can now be reviewed in court and punishable by, serious penalties that we saw the NBA levy against the Minnesota Timberwolves when they did almost exactly this with Joe Smith, however many years ago.
And that was what, 5 first-round picks?
It ended up being 5 first-round picks, a $3.5 million fine, and the contract was immediately voided, and Joe Smith became a free agent. However, the NBA did reinstate 3 of those 5 first-round picks, so it did end up being 2 first-round picks.
It's a mess, and we'll see where it goes from here. This is just day 1 of what will be, as we call in the business, an evergreen story. We will continue to keep tabs on it. I'm sure we'll have Kurt Heelan on to talk about it as well. Odds and ends are next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Don't forget, Thursday's show will be a good one. David Aardsma, former big league reliever, is here every week on the show, and we're bringing an extra friend along. Jabba Chamberlain, former MLB starter, reliever, former Yankee. Come and hang out with us, too, for the baseball conversation that we do. On Thursdays, we'll have our Super Bowl predictions as well at that time. Couple of reminders. If you have not subscribed to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, make sure to do so. The podcast is the best way to check out the show. You can do that Monday through Friday. The podcast available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, and a whole bunch more. Make sure to go and do that. It's commercial-free, 45 minutes there for you daily. You can also watch this show on 300 affiliates around the United States as of September 1st. Very proud of that. And look, if you can't catch the show on television, you can also watch it on our Spotify channel or on the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Go and check that out. SportsWrap shorts are available there as well. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Why are you laughing? What, you were giggling. I saw you out of the corner of my eye.
It's when you said 300, I was just thinking to myself, I remember when the show was in zero market. So it's cool that we're on over 300
pretty
nowadays.
Wild. Yeah, we started out, when we started on January 1st, 2024, I think we had about 50 or 60 stations. It's remarkable how fast we've grown in 19 months, 18 months. All right, Sam. So odds and ends. Let's talk about baseball, because I saw this Framber Valdez, Cesar Salazar moment last night. Trent Grisham hits a grand slam. By the way, Trent Grisham's making so much money in free agency.
A moment on that. Really quick, because we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But people do not and I can't believe I'm saying this about a New York Yankee right now. Maybe the only reason the Yankees have treaded water as much as they have is that Trent freaking Grisham is all of a sudden Bryce Harper this season. They have almost identical numbers. He is putting up one of the quiet, most productive seasons that we've seen, and he is going to get absolutely paid next year.
He's going to get big bucks, and it probably won't be with the Yankees. So he hits a grand slam last night, and Framber Valdez wasn't very happy because he had a disagreement with the catcher, I think, on the pitch that they were going to throw to Grisham, and then Grisham hit the grand slam. So the very next batter, it might have been Anthony Volpe, I don't remember, comes up, and Valdez first shakes off his catcher because they're using PitchCom, and then decides he's going to basically cross up his own catcher, Cesar Salazar, and instead of a breaking ball, which I think Salazar was expecting, he gave him a fastball right to the chest, as you can see right there, that Salazar took. And the looks those two gave each other after that pitch. Now, Valdez says after the game he apologized, but said it wasn't intentional. Sam, is there any doubt in any of our minds that was intentional?
I'm sorry, I gotta do it. I have to do it, and you might just want to cover your ears right now. This is not a story if Anthony Volpe swings at the first pitch fastball right down the middle. That is the funniest thing in all of this to me. We are here because Anthony Volpe, a Major League Baseball player on the New York Yankees, did not swing at a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right down Broadway on the first pitch of the at-bat. Just had to get that out of the way. Objectively, to me, the funniest part of this whole story. Okay. The Framber Valdez Cesar Salazar thing. Yeah, probably intentional. Yeah. Cesar Salazar was new on the team. Yeah, Framber Valdez has been there a while, especially when they were very successful. You think that on September 2nd, when these guys have been spending, well, Framber Valdez spent a little time hurt, but when these guys have spent the better part of 7 months together now, you think these guys don't get a little bit tired of each other? I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. I'm not saying it was okay, but I've said it on this show before. In Major League Baseball, August is the month of hate, and I think that was just kind of the culmination of it.
Yankees win, by the way, continue to play better baseball. Max Fried. Yeah, they win big. Max Fried was really good in 5 innings of one-run work. Last but not least, Rafael Devers. Yeah, he is still playing. Even though the Giants aren't going to be a playoff team. Devers hits a home run in Colorado off Kyle Freeland and the Rockies. And he was hot dogging it a little bit coming out of the box, getting ready to run around the bases. And Kyle Freeland was not having it. And it's, as our friend John Buccigross or Bill Pito used to say, it's time to play the feud. Here comes everybody out onto the field, a few ejections. Kyle Freeland is a very competitive guy. Kyle, I'll say this. You don't want a guy to hot dog it coming out of the box. Don't serve up a meatball that he hits 600 feet, and you won't have to worry about it because Rafael Devers is going to hot dog it when he gets a chance to.
It's the same thing, man. I'm not while it's not the right thing to do, and I agree with what you are saying 100%, it is September 2nd when this happens.
Shrug
Kyle
emoji.
Freeland has spent 7 months on the Colorado Rockies. I would start fighting people too if I spent that long on that team.
It's a very good point. I would probably do the same. It's going to wrap it up for us. By the way, Novak Djokovic onto the semis at the U.S. Open. Beat the 4-seed Taylor Fritz last night, who did the usual Taylor Fritz thing, which is go. He
played well.
He gets Carlos Alcaraz in the next round. He would have to beat number 4, number 2, and number 1 in the world to win this U.S. Open. If he does, easily the greatest accomplishment ever in tennis at the age of 38. We'll see you tomorrow.